Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss about Griffith experiment. To prove DNA as a genetic material, Griffith carried out an experiment. So DNA was first extracted from nuclei in 1870. It is named as a nuclein after their source. Its chemical analysis determined that DNA was a weak acid rich in phosphorus. Its name provides a lot of information about DNA such as deoxyribose nucleic acid. It contains a sugar moiety, that is deoxyribose. It is weakly acidic and is found in the nucleus. Because of its nuclear localization, its subsequent identification as a component of chromosomes, it was implicated as a carrier of genetic information. This is the timeline of history of genetics. So far, we covered the important milestones up to this point. Yes, we have taken a look at the work of Gregor Mendel, followed by the work of Sutton and Boveri. This was the chromosomal theory of inheritance. Later, it was Thomas Morgan who put forth his work on the common fruit flies and have achieved another milestone. Now comes the next one. After Morgan gave the experimental evidence of the fact that genes for the traits are present on the chromosomes, the scientific world that come together to find out what exactly makes of these genes and chromosomes. In other words, the chemical nature of these genetic material is what everyone was curious to know about. In the same era, a British bacteriologist was busy handling his pneumococcal strains. They are nothing but the bacteria named Streptococcus pneumoniae, which was the causative agent of pneumococcal infections. Frederick Griffith found out the some factor that helps transform one bacteria type into the other. Let's have a look at this remarkable experiment. To begin with, we need to get introduced to the two types of pneumococcal strains. This one is smooth strain denoted as the S strain, and this one is the rough strain denoted as the R strain. Why are they named so? This smooth strain, as we can see, has a smooth outer surface. It's the capsule around the cell wall which protects it from various threats. The presence of this capsule makes the strain virulent or strongly infectious, to be precise. The absence of such a smooth coat makes R strain avirulent or non-infectious, to be precise. Now you may ask, why is the R strain avirulent? It's the absence of capsule which makes susceptible to the immune cells of the host's body. Now getting back to Griffith's work, let's see what experiment he exactly performed. He was first injected a mouse with a strain which is the smooth strain of pneumococci. As expected, the mouse died. Similarly, on injecting another mice with a rough strain, the mouse survived. This was very much anticipated by him. The rough strain is usually the avirulent one. What was the next? Now the third mouse was injected with the S strain, but after the bacteria was heat killed. That means he heated the S strain to extreme temperature, which killed the virulent strain and made it ineffective. So the injected mouse survived. Now comes the last part. This time Griffith injected a mouse with a mixture of both R strain and heat killed S strain. That's right, a mixture of R strain and the heat killed S strain. Now what do you think could have happened? Most of us would expect the mouse to survive because both are individually ineffective or avirulent. However, to his astonishment, the mouse did not survive. How did this happen, and what do you think Griffiths concluded? With this, he concluded that there is something from the S strain that was passed on to the R strain, resulting it to turn virulent. Also, do you know that what he recovered from the body of mouse? He recovered live S strain. This way, they confirmed that the R strain was transformed into the virulent S strain. He named the transforming factor as the transforming principle. He did not really know what exactly this was and hence named it just the transforming principle. But he predicted that this could be the genetic material. Was this really the genetic material or was it something else? Let's find it out in the next part. Imagine we give it a bag full of flowers and we have told that there is one flower which has a Midas effect. Midas means anything that a flower touches gets transformed into gold. But how will be found out which flower is the special one? All the flowers looks more or less the same. Well, the only thing we can do is make all the flowers touch some object. Is that right? So examining every individual flower is the only option we have. The story was similar in the case of transforming principle. After Griffith concluded his experiment on the bacteria named Streptococcus pneumoniae, the science world was now curious to know more about the transforming principle. Finding the answers was not a piece of cake. It was almost 16 years later that three scientists figured out what the transforming principle was. They tried finding out its chemical nature by testing every single component of the virulent bacterial strain. Let's move a step ahead in the timeline and understand the interesting experiments performed by Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy around the year 1944. These three scientists worked quite fascinated with Griffith's work. Just like others, even they were curious to know what the transforming principle was. So they thought of continuing the same experiment with better research. Griffith concluded his experiment by inferring that there is some factor that passed from heat-killed A strain to the R strain, which is avirulent. This factor transforms the avirulent strain to the virulent strain. So the three scientists thought of planning the experiment by targeting the heat-killed smooth strain. Just like a bag filled with the flowers, the smooth strain has various components in them. And just like how we have to examine the touch of individual flowers, the scientists mixed every single chemical component individually with the rough strain. So let's see this smooth strain cell has four components A, B, C and D in it. They mixed these component A with the rough strain and injected it in a live mouse. Similarly, they mixed all the other components individually with the rough strains and injected the mixtures in different mice. What they found at the end was only one of those components among all was effective in transforming the rough strain. It was the case in which the mouse died. Their conclusion was that component D transformed the R strain. They isolated this component from the heat-killed A strain and tested it further. On chemical analysis, they could figure out that the molecules had a chemical composition similar to that of DNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid, abbreviated as DNA, was known to people by this time, but it was not given much importance. Nobody assumed that it could be such a vital part of the cell. In fact, people thought that proteins made up of cells, and it was also believed that proteins make up the genetic material. So this experiment was a huge breakthrough in genetics. Many tests were carried out to investigate this further, and the chemical composition of this transforming principle was found. It has components in the ratio that was found in the DNA molecules. So, to further understanding its nature, this component was tested using chemicals that break down the constituents. For example, certain enzymes like protease degrade proteins. Use of such chemicals helps us identify the constituents in a given sample, as they will degrade specific molecules only. So in this case, the chemicals used to degrade DNA were used along with others, and it was found that the chemicals successfully broke down the molecules. It implied that the molecules that of DNA. This chemical analysis helps in understanding that the transforming principle was nothing else but DNA. and this fact is easily accepted as a fact. A few years later, another experiments helped to confirm that DNA, which is a transforming principle. Thank you.